I had planned the hike for weeks. A solo weekend in the mountains, just me, my gear, and the quiet escape of the woods. I had triple-checked my supplies: food, water, first aid kit, and my GPS. I even printed out physical trail maps just in case. I let a friend know my route and when I expected to be back. I wasn't reckless. I'd done solo hikes before. The hike started off exactly as I expected. The crisp air, the crunch of dirt under my boots, the rhythmic sway of tree branches overhead. 2 hours in, I reached a fork in the trail. It wasn't on my map. One path led left, the official route I had planned. The other veered right, looking just as well worn. The dirt was packed down, grass flattened, even old boot prints trailing into the woods. I pulled out my phone, checking my GPS. The signal struggled, the screen spinning endlessly. Typical. I took out my printed map. No sign of the fork. But someone had been down that path before. Curiosity won. I took the right path. At first, it seemed like any other trail. Narrow, but easy to follow. Boot prints were infrequent, but they were there. That was enough reassurance. But after another hour, the trail stopped making sense. The dirt turned uneven, like the path had been maintained once but long abandoned. The trees grew closer together, and the deeper I went, the quieter it became. No birds, no wind, no rustling leaves. Just silence. Then, up ahead, something caught my eye. A wooden post, weathered, half buried in the dirt. As I got closer, I realized it was an old trail sign. The letters were barely readable. I wiped off some dirt and squinted at the carved name. I'd never heard of this trail before. It wasn't in any of my guides. It wasn't on any map. And then I noticed something else. Someone had scratched something into the wood below the name. Deep, uneven letters. Do not follow. A chill ran through me. I turned back immediately. Something was wrong. The path behind me looked different. The trees seemed closer together. The ground, uneven, rough, untouched. No footprints. Not mine, not anyone else's. I swore under my breath. I wasn't lost. I'd been paying attention. I had a map, a compass, and a GPS whenever it decided to work. Then, through the trees, I saw it. A cabin. Old. Weathered, hidden just off the trail. The windows were dark, the wood cracked and splintered. No signs of life, no smoke, no vehicles, no footprints in the dirt. But the door was slightly open. I shouldn't have gone near it, I knew that. But a small rational part of me thought, if someone was inside, maybe they knew the area. Maybe they could help me find my way back. I stepped closer. The wind shifted. The door creaked open just a little more. Inside, I saw a table, a chair, and something in the doorway. A backpack. Old, faded, torn straps, dried mud caked into the fabric. I stopped. Every instinct in my body screamed leave. Then footsteps, not fast, not rushing, just slow, deliberate steps. I turned and walked away as calmly as I could. Then, once I was back on the trail, I ran. Branches snapped behind me, measured, controlled. Someone was following me. I didn't look back. I kept running, scanning the ground for landmarks, but the trail didn't look the same anymore. My stomach twisted. Was I even going the right way? Then, up ahead, another backpack. Not mine, different color, different make. Half buried in the dirt. I sprinted past it. My mind screamed at me. Who else had been here? Then, I heard it. Not footsteps. Breathing. Right behind me. Ragged, uneven, too close. I broke into a full sprint, lungs burning, legs aching. And then, I stumbled. My foot caught on a root and I went down hard, sprawling onto the rough ground. My knife flew from my hand, skittering into the leaves. Pain lanced up my ankle. I scrambled back, pushing myself up, scrabbling for the knife, fingers clumsy with fear. And then I saw it. It wasn't on the trail, it was part of the trail. It had emerged from the deep shadows beside the path, as if the darkness itself had taken form. Tall, broad-shouldered, but unnaturally still. Its clothing wasn't just dark, it was dull, the color of dead leaves and shadows, swallowing light. A wide-brimmed, shapeless hat concealed what should have been a face, plunging it into near total darkness. But beneath the brim, there was only shadow. No light touched where a face should have been. It didn't move, didn't speak. Just stood there, a silent sentinel of the woods, its presence radiating a profound, unsettling stillness that was more terrifying than any threat of violence. Fear clawed at my throat. Adrenaline burned. I snatched my knife from the dirt, my hand slick with sweat and trembling violently. It still didn't move, but the angle of its head shifted, almost imperceptibly. A barest inclination, as if acknowledging my fear or, perhaps, calculating my next move. I didn't offer it a chance to calculate further. I turned and ran, past it, back the way I'd come, towards the main trail, my breath ragged, every muscle screaming, fueled by the purest, most desperate terror I had ever known. Behind me, still no footsteps, no snapping branches, just the unnerving absence of sound where there should have been pursuit. A silence that felt knowing, as if it allowed me to run. I burst onto the main trail, stumbling, gasping, desperate for air. I didn't stop running until I was back at my car, fumbling with the keys, heart a frantic drum against my ribs. Later, hours later, when the shaking had lessened and the cold dread had settled into a dull ache in my bones, the image of that thing wouldn't leave me. Not its features, there had been none, but the impression of it, the weight of its stillness, the cold, assessing presence that had felt so ancient and rooted to that place. I tried to rationalize it. Lost hiker, hermit, harmless eccentric. My mind grasped at explanations, desperate to diminish the sheer visceral terror I had felt. But every time I closed my eyes, I didn't see a lost hiker. I saw it, that figure in the shadows. And I knew, with a cold, sickening certainty that logic couldn't touch, that it belonged there, that it was meant to be there, watching, waiting, and that I had stumbled onto something profoundly wrong, something ancient and watchful in the heart of those woods, something that had let me go, this time,